Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Hi there, welcome. Good evening. Hope you had a great Sunday. And now it's time to look forward to the coming week. Hope you had a great Sunday. Now it's time to look forward to the coming week. Welcome back to this week's edition of Looking Forward. This show is about stories that are shaping up over the coming days and weeks. News that is developing and would have consequences for your life and mine and impact our choices. Stories that shape India's and world's politics and economics going forward. So let's get going. Tonight's show packs a punch with 4 stories that you should look forward to in the coming week and weeks. First story is about India adding hugely to its naval muscle to this week, with the Indian Navy adding 2 indigenous frigates to its arsenal. Remember what Navy did during Operation Sindoor silently. It tied down Pakistan in its own backyard. We will give you a lowdown on how India is making big strides to make sure our high seas are secure by a truly blue water naval force. Story number 2 is the most anticipated one, in fact, not just in India, but globally, around the world capitals. All eyes are on the geopolitics panning out in China this coming week as Prime Minister Modi lands in Tianjin to participate in the SCO summit. This is Indian PM's first visit to China in 7 years, coming out of the Galwan and COVID hiatus. Story number 3 is going to take you to the biggest economic development for India this coming week as Trump's tariffs and sanctions kick in on August 27. Be prepared with information on what gets expensive and how India is staring down the United States on this very specific tariff battle. And finally, story number 4 would fill your hearts with sense of satisfaction and even pride. The train is reaching Mizoram, Aizawl, making every northeastern state connected with the railway grid for the first time since independence. Watch and feel good. Let me get you the headlines first. Uttar Pradesh's dowry horror shocks nation. The victim's mother-in-law Dayawati and killer husband arrested. 28-year-old Nikki was set ablaze over a dowry demand for 36 lakh rupees. Victim's father-in-law and brother-in-law are reportedly still absconding as the investigation continues.
मियाँ बीवी में हर जगह लड़ाई होती रहती है, ये कोई आम बात नहीं है।
क्या और वो अपने आप लगाई?
बस मुझे और कुछ नहीं पता ना।
पछतावा है?
नहीं, हाँ बहुत पछतावा है। मेरी वाइफ चली गई।
The husband accused of burning his wife alive, Vipin Bhati, was shot by police while trying to escape custody in Greater Noida. Killer husband says no remorse, wife died on her own. Republic Kannada has unmasked the masked man. We have accessed his voter ID card and address. Masked man is a resident of Maoist areas in Tamil Nadu, left home in April to plant the Dharamisthala house. ISRO successfully carries out first integrated airdrop test to validate the parachute-based deceleration system for the upcoming Gaganyaan mission. The end-to-end demonstration was conducted near Sriharikota in Andhra Pradesh. Russia has accused Ukraine of launching an overnight drone attack that caused a fire at a nuclear power plant in the western Kursk region, further escalating tensions between the two nations, even as Trump diplomacy seems to be crumbling. Israeli military targets Yemen's missile bases and multiple areas targeting Iran-backed rebels. The strike comes days after the Houthis claim they launched newly equipped missiles towards Israel. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are often too focused on India's 15,000-kilometer long land borders for defense that we often forget that India is also blessed with a 7,500 kilometers plus long coastline with the Arabian Sea to the west, Bay of Bengal to the east, and the Indian Ocean to the south to defend India's interests. For a nation with 95% of its trade dependent on sea routes, when the first strike on national security emerges, it's the blue that will bleed the nation the most. Fortunately for India, its Navy, the Indian Navy, is ranked 5th in terms of tonnage and 3rd globally with 2 aircraft carriers. But our Navy's true strength today lies in its indigenous prowess, be it the INS Vikrant, transforming Pakistan into a landlocked country during Operation Sindoor, or India's state-of-the-art Visakhapatnam and Nilgiri-class destroyers and frigates. This week, the Indian Navy's family is getting bigger. 2 new Nilgiri-class frigates, INS Himgiri and INS Udaygiri, are all set to dominate the blue waters with 70% indigenous content. When they will ride the waves, every drop of sea will have a taste of what India is made of. Take a look.
The date will be August 26th. The location, Eastern Naval Command Headquarters, Visakhapatnam. It will be a day of resounding triumph for Atmanirbhar Bharat. The Indian Navy is all set to induct its latest stealth-guided missile frigate, the indomitable INS Himgiri and the formidable INS Udaygiri. Both of them belong to the Nilgiri-class frigates, formerly classified as Project 75 Alpha, built by Musgao Dock Shipbuilders and the GRSE. Designed by the Warship Design Bureau, these Nilgiri-class beasts will complement currently serving Shivalik-class frigates. But these naval marvels, born from Indian ingenuity, are not just warships. They are a symbol of our unyielding resolve to dominate the seas. With 75% indigenous content involving over 200 MSMEs, they propel India into a new era of maritime supremacy, enhancing firepower and blue water prowess like never before.
There is a chance that if it is stealth, the radar will not be able to pick it up. So if it can't see the target, it can't fire. Even if it picks up, let us say the missile has been fired. The missiles normally have, in their homing head, they have radar reflective or radio reflective transmissions. So it may or may not reflect the, the picture of the ship back to the missile. So it can get a little bit deviate from its path. So I think stealth is very useful in that you are protecting yourself from getting picked up and getting targeted.
Stealth-guided missile frigates are multi-mission warships that are designed for operations in deep sea environment, which are far away from the ocean. As the characterization of the frigate says, that they are built with high-quality stealth technology that are designed to evade enemy radar detection, offshore particularly. So these frigates are medium-sized and extremely mobile, unlike destroyers, so they are naturally more easy to be deployed in any contingency, particularly in warlike scenarios.
A frigate is a class of ship which is smaller in displacement than a classic destroyer class. This makes them faster, harder to target, and ideal for multi-role operations such as escort duties, patrols, and anti-ship operations. However, Nilgiri class frigates are built for blue water operations. They by themselves are a force to reckon with. Built at 149 meters long with displacements of 6,670 tons, INS Himgiri and INS Udaygiri can reach top speeds up to 30 knots or around 55.56 kilometers per hour. An estimated advantage of 3 knots than the Chinese Type 054A class frigates. It's all possible because of the combined diesel or gas marine propulsion system that makes them extremely agile for maneuvers. And then there is firepower. INS Himgiri and INS Udaygiri are formidable with their arsenal. Equipped with BrahMos supersonic missiles, Barak 8 surface-to-air missiles for about 70 kilometers of range, anti-submarine torpedoes, and rapid-fire CIWS. These ships are lethal blend of offense and defense.
They're equipped with very sophisticated delivery systems, including the BrahMos supersonic missiles and the Barak 8, which India and Israel have jointly developed. They are definitely long range and highly capable of attacking enemy warplanes, warships, and submarines, therefore serving in 3 different vectors. So the biggest advantage of these frigates is that they are easily deployable in a war and can be operationalized in a high-stake environment relatively quickly because of their medium size and because of their delivery system. So you can deploy them, operationalize them, and call them back to the port in a very short period of time. So that way it enhances its war application.
You know, these ships did not have a missile earlier. These ships had guns, but now they will have the missiles. So this specialization by and large both surface to surface warfare, surface to air warfare, anti-submarine warfare. These days frigate and destroyer, the weapon system differentiation has become very little, except that destroyers are heavier ships, they have more engine power, they have more of this firepower, but by and large capable of doing the same thing. They can stay on target for a long time.
Globally, INS Himgiri and INS Udaygiri stack up brilliantly against contemporaries like China's Type 054A or USS Arleigh class destroyers. Our indigenous stealth and BrahMos speed give us the upper hand in agility and strike power. No longer followers, India leads in blue water innovation.
In the Navy, when you see that some ship is commissioned, some submarine is commissioned, it is not a reaction to anything. The Navy has a 15-year, 30-year shipbuilding plan, and the ships have to be replaced at particular time frame depending upon how much is the life left of the previous ship. We operate, Indian Ocean, entire Indian Ocean. If you see the map, it is quite big. So you have to traverse in the blue water. Blue water, brown water is primarily what? Blue water is open sea. And therefore, this is a good example as to how the Navy has imbibed technology, and you will see that nearly 75% of equipment on board are all Indian made. So we are quite ahead on the Atmanirbhar, particularly the Navy. So So it's an example of our becoming more and more Atmanirbhar and more capable as a firepower in the blue ocean.
The induction of Nilgiri class frigates are definitely the right step towards improving the Navy's operational capabilities, particularly in the Indian Ocean region and in the Indo-Pacific in general. India already has a relative parity with the Chinese Navy, and these modernization help India to fill that gap and address that parity. So lastly, we must understand that the induction of both INS Udaigiri and Nilgiri is a testimony to India's indigenous naval equipment and India's development capabilities. As you know, the warships are privately developed and 75% of the products that are used in these naval ships are sourced from India.
With a budget of rupees 45,000 crore, after the commission of INS Nilgiri this year, INS Udaigiri and INS Himgiri will be the next two ships in the class of 7 ordered for Project 17A class frigates, with INS Taragiri, Mahendragiri, Dronagiri and Vindhyagiri also expected to enter service over the next year. Forward-looking, these inductions catapult India towards a 170 warship fleet target by the year 2035 and help the Navy expand its operation reach in the Indian Ocean region.
It allows India to project strength in deep sea missions, allows it to take over more missions, more advanced missions, particularly when required for rescuing or anti-piracy operations. And most importantly, these frigates are equipped with BrahMos missiles, which is supersonic missiles, and also other long-range surface-to-air missiles.
First thing that you have to identify who's your adversary. I would say that our western neighbor, namely Pakistan, they are your sworn enemy and they will not change. And their naval power is also being increased by their good friend China. Now China is selling virtually everything, submarine, ships, etc., but they are still quite far away from the firepower of the Indian Navy. Indian Navy in the Indian Ocean region is the most powerful resident navy. Otherwise, the US Navy is not very far. They are based in Manama. They are also out at sea most of the time. The Chinese Navy has not come into Indian Ocean in total full strength.
In scale, India's Navy outshines in the Indian Ocean region, with over 150 warships versus China's distant deployments lacking local air cover. We are the resident powerhouse, a superior power to Pakistan and closing gap to China with relentless modernization.
Immediately after the cowardly incident by Pakistani-sponsored terrorist attack at Pahalgam, we had validated our anti-missile and anti-aircraft defense capability in a complex threat environment using cross-platform cooperative mechanism.
India's growing indigenous prowess is only empowering its naval might. It was evident when India's indigenously developed aircraft carrier INS Vikrant made Pakistan a landlocked nation during Operation Sindoor. Today, the Indian Navy stands tall as the defender and the guardian of the Indian Ocean region against all adversaries of India.
Effectively, it compelled the Pakistani air elements to remain bottled up close to the Makran coast, denying any opportunity to be a threat in maritime space. The Indian Navy maintains a credible capability to detect, identify, and neutralize any aerial platforms that threaten our units at sea. To sum up, the Indian Navy's dominance thus ensured that, should we choose to, we can strike at will.
In the vast expanse of the Indian Ocean, INS Himgiri and INS Udaigiri stand as unbreakable guardians of our sovereignty. These frigates aren't just warships, they are the roar of a rising superpower, ensuring our seas forever echo with the thunder of Jai Hind.
All Right, moving on. For the first time since 2018, Prime Minister Modi is set to return to China for a visit. It is the Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting in Tianjin that the PM is set to grace. A major diplomatic statement for both Beijing and New Delhi, as both stare back at Trump's tariff tyranny. The Chinese sense an opportunity to negotiate. The Indians see a fight on the horizon for national interest. PM Modi's visit to China months after Operation Sindoor is one that surely raises many questions also back home. Meanwhile, the optics of Putin, Xi and Modi in one frame is surely going to elicit a reaction from the West. No promises on the elephant-dragon tango that President Xi spoke about. But in Tianjin, it's going to be a game of Russian roulette for various bilateral or even trilateral relationships. Which or who will pull the trigger? And why or who will bite the bullet? Here is what to expect this week. Looking forward.
These pictures of a clash between the Indian Army and the PLA of China in the icy cold heights of Ladakh in April 2020 set the India-China relationship into a deep freeze. India mobilized massive troops all across the line of actual control, and the eyeball-to-eyeball confrontation made Ladakh a global military flashpoint. The Ladakh incursion by the PLA, part of its salami slicing strategy, came amid the first wave lockdown of the COVID pandemic that was also a gift of China to the world. It was like rubbing salt to the wounds. Every Indian was angry at the backstabbing by China, at the breach of border understandings going back to 1993. It was for the first time since 1960s that lives of Indian soldiers were lost in the Himalayas along the eastern frontier. The anger spilled over. Trade came to a screeching halt. India slammed shut on Chinese exchange of all kinds. Flights were discontinued. On the ground, intense diplomacy began. Military commanders would meet alternate months at border outposts. Diplomats would meet first through video calls and then alternatively in Beijing and New Delhi. Some diplomacy saw disengagement of troops, but the forces remained forward deployed. De-escalation was not happening. This was also the time that the post-COVID world was realigning its supply chain. China was facing the heat from a stagflating economy. Then came the BRICS summit in Kazan in Russia in October last year. Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping met on the sidelines. A call was taken to look forward.
5 साल के बाद हमारी फॉर्मल मीटिंग हो रही है। सीमा पार पिछले 4 वर्षों में उत्पन्न हुए मुद्दों पर बनी सहमति का हम स्वागत करते हैं। सीमा पर शांति और स्थिरता बनाए रखना हमारी प्राथमिकता रहनी चाहिए। म्यूचुअल ट्रस्ट, म्यूचुअल रिस्पेक्ट और म्यूचुअल सेंसिटिविटी हमारे संबंधों का आधार बने रहना चाहिए।
It is in this backdrop that the Prime Minister lands in Tianjin in China to participate in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Leaders Summit. SCO was set up in the 1990s as a grouping of China plus 5 Central Asian states after the collapse of the USSR, as China sought to guard its western flank from the Western advancement. India was included as a full member only in 2018, but fits in well with the larger Modi plan of India's multi-alignment diplomacy.
It's a very clear-cut signal that India pursues its own foreign policy in an independent way. It doesn't believe in any bloc politics, or it doesn't want to polarize the world. It wants to pursue its national interest as other countries are doing, and it doesn't have any enemy. until unless someone acts adversely against its interest or against the country. Only then it is an adversary, otherwise there is no adversary to the country.
While this still does not mean that bygones can be bygones, but in the world of geopolitics, there can be a price to pay for immobility, cost for not being nimble-footed.
It's important for both sides to have more communication and cooperation, properly handle our differences and disagreements, and to facilitate each other's pursuit of development aspirations. It's also important for both sides to shoulder our international responsibility, set an example for boosting the strength and unity of the developing countries, and to contribute to promoting multipolarization and democracy in international relations.
India hosted SCO summit virtually in 2023, and the relationship with China had not thawed enough for Xi Jinping to participate in the G20 power push in September 2023 in New Delhi. But India is all set to host the BRICS summit next year and would want to have the Chinese president and the Russian president to underscore its centrality to world diplomacy.
Well, I think that Prime Minister Modi's visit comes at a time when the world is facing a major paradigm shift in international relations, with the Trump administration casting the rule-based order out of the window and replace it with American first hegemony and bullying. Now, I think that there's a time when the Global South feels almost compelled to form closer corporations together, to work together for a fairer world, a more cooperative international environment, to bring benefits to the people of the developing South around the world.
As Prime Minister Modi meets Russian President and the Chinese President in Tianjin, the world would be watching with some anxious moment in Washington, D.C.
India doesn't appear to want to recognize its role in the bloodshed. It simply doesn't. It's cozying up to Xi Jinping.
In a show of marked double standards, the Trump administration has been singling out India for doing business with Russia.
We have planned to up the tariffs on India. These are secondary tariffs for buying the sanctioned Russian oil.
The United States clearly knows for the demon sitting on its head, the record deficit, the risk of a de-dollarized world, the risk of a large parts of globe shifting away from the dollar in terms of currency, the hegemony of the dollar. So within that, if United States is acting hypocritically and arm twisting everyone, including India, on the other hand, if America continues to import its nuclear fuels from the Russians or other things, but expecting India to give up the arbitrage between the Russian raw crude coming to India, getting processed and going to Europe, we are in the process of reaching a world which will have new polarities.
Look, just now US has got a very bizarre president. You can't predict his behavior. But one thing is that he knows American interests. And he is ready to work with anyone. And he is ready to stand up to any country, even its allies. You may have seen how it behaved with NATO countries. So it has got a completely different template to conduct its foreign policy. It sometimes sends very friendly gestures or friendly signals to Russia, and then it also tries to intimidate Russia. China, in the first Trump administration, we saw there was some problems, but now it is also negotiating with China. So if it faces nervousness, it is just a tactical nervousness. It is China in United States must be watching India's move very carefully, because all countries pursue their interests.
In this backdrop, the picture from Tianjin would be an understated yet strong statement that India is unruffled.
The previous foreign policy Doyan Brzezinski, he was the mentor of Henry Kissinger. Don't forget that was 1997, so many years ago. He already forewarned that the greatest danger to American dominance would be a closer relationship between Russia, Iran, and China. But I don't think that he's going to be deterred, but because Trump still believes that the Americans still the largest and the most powerful country in the world, and it has the ability to remake the world, to bend the world, to fit Americans' best interests. I think the likely outcome would be a joint declaration or a joint statement amongst the SCO members, defining areas of cooperation, but also signaling to the rest of the world that the world is now facing unprecedented challenges. It's time for the Global South to rally together to improve the world order for a better world.
The two leaders are meeting in a week when the S&P has upgraded the Indian economy for the first time in 20 years. And India has become the largest exporter of mobile phones to the United States, displacing China.
बीता दशक रिफॉर्म परफॉर्म ट्रांसफॉर्म कर रहा है, लेकिन अब हमें और नई ताकत से जुड़ना है.
This is a signal to the whole world that India is not merely hedged, but India is open to engage with everyone at its own terms. Today the world is either a multipolar world or an apolar world. A propensity for change is clearly visible, and in such an ambience, if India plays it brutally with a straight bat, that it's open to a dialogue with everyone. So while there is stress on the border with China and with Pakistan, India not abstaining from this participation is, so what if there's tension? We are ready to sit and talk. And then what does it signal? Even if Pakistan has been sitting on the lap of China, Narendra Modi going and sharing the same table as Xi Jinping and with Putin places Pakistan on a spot. This is clear signaling that nobody needs to throw any arms around India's shoulders. India is fully arrived as an equally active, equally competent engager of all global energies. So that's the biggest signal to my mind that India is radiating out by going on participating onto an SCO.
China knows India cannot be ignored. Prime Minister's visit helps China shrug off diplomatic isolation.
Very honestly, I don't think the India-China ties are going to normalize very quickly, because the core issue is really the border issue, and I don't see any movement on that. What the Chinese have been hoping for a very long time is that leave the border issue aside and we can work on other things. Now that doesn't really suit India, and our foreign minister has made it very clear that the border issue is the core issue. And if we can resolve that, we can move on to other things.
So what's on the table?
Problem is coming from the Chinese side. Are they interested in normalizing the relationship? It cannot happen until unless they continue to pursue clandestine arms transactions. They continue to fuel Pakistani aggressive design or aggressive behavior. So I think China has to take a call whether it wants to normalize the relationship or not.
There is also the word of caution from India's strategic community. The fact that China provided real-time help to Pakistan during Operation Sindoor is not missed by anyone.
I don't think India and China relations can ever be normalized in that extent, for a very simple reason. China uses Pakistan as a bulwark against India. And it is part of their strategy that they said, okay, we've got Pakistan here, and however, in whichever manner we wish to put India down, Pakistan is the instrument.
right? And that is not going to change, which is why they have continuously armed Pakistan, and this relationship is not new.
While this is denied by the Chinese experts.
Well, China does not have any specific role in the Operation Sindoor, but of course the Pakistan has always been a very close partnership with China, dating back well before the current conflict between China, India and Pakistan. And because through decades of close relationship, Pakistan has acquired Chinese military equipment and also armory, including the latest fighter jets.
Experience, however, was to the contrary. India refused to sign the joint statement at the SCO defense ministers meet as it failed to condemn the Pahalgam terror attack and Pakistan's role in it.
Tolerance for terrorism is manifest today through its actions. This includes our right to defend ourselves against terrorism. And we have shown that epicenters of terrorism are no longer safe, and we will not hesitate to target them.
This then sets the contours of Prime Minister's China visit and his meeting with the Chinese president.
With or without Operation Sindoor, the wounds that have been, the stabs that have been, the gashes that have been as deep as they have been always, to immediately think of one conversation and one meeting is going to start creating a path of normalization is theoretical. So not only did Pakistan get totally rattled at how India handled Operation Sindoor, it took China by surprise. The failure of Chinese military equipment that caused them a massive embarrassment, exposing the weaknesses in their chain. Here is an India that speaks very loudly with its silence and louder with its actions. But within this milieu, within this background of two untrusting partners, still open-mindedly meeting with a serious intent that if the world is a different place today, and they are both facing, India and China are both facing the brunt of Uncle Sam or United States of America, say.
After Chinese foreign minister's visit, China eased some restrictions on the sale of rare earths, fertilizers and mountain tunneling machines. The stage is set. The world is watching. Elephant Dragon Tango pans out next week with Prime Minister Modi in China.
From the Far East to the Far West, India faces the prospect of 50% tariffs on its goods exported to the United States, effective August 27. While a 25% reciprocal tariff has been in effect from April 7, an additional 25% US tariff for India's crude oil trade with Russia is expected to come into place from Wednesday. As the US is hell-bent on singling out India, we stand firm on making sure that our energy security needs are met. Make no mistake, it's the United States officially launching a trade war against India, and there are no two ways about it. Take a look.
Follow up on the India tariffs. Do you expect increased trade negotiations, since you've announced the 50% tariff?
No, not until we get it resolved.
The US president has paused the trade negotiations with India. The team of American negotiators is no longer coming to India on August 25th. Which means, beginning August 27th, this Wednesday, the additional 25% penalty will kick in, and India would essentially be bearing 50% tariff on exports to the United States.
भारत एक ऐसा देश है जिसको टैरिफ से सबसे कम इम्पैक्ट होना। उसकी वजह क्या है कि आज जो लोकल कंजम्पशन है, आप जीडीपी जो नंबर्स आते हैं उस पर जो कंट्रीब्यूशन जो है वो जो डोमेस्टिक कंजम्पशन का लगभग 57-58% है। अगर जिस तरह के मेजर्स जो हम ले रहे हैं, जैसे जीएसटी में आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने एक बार कहा कि रैशनलाइजेशन लाएंगे दिवाली से पहले, अगर वो हुआ और जिस तरह से इंटरेस्ट रेट कट किया हमने, जिस तरह से रेट कट किया और जिस तरह से हमने इनकम टैक्स में कट किया, सब मिला दे अगर तो लगभग 100 बेसिस पॉइंट का जो है स्टिमुलस मिल जाता है जीडीपी में। उससे समझ में आता है कि चाहे कोई भी इम्पैक्ट हो, हमारे अर्थव्यवस्था में जो जिस रफ्तार से चल रही है उसमें कमी नहीं आने वाली है.
While the BJP might be putting a brave face, Indian exports are likely to get impacted, while Indian goods and services will become little more expensive for US consumers.
I think it will hurt India. Let's not doubt that in any manner. Our exports to the US, which far exceed our imports from there, would find themselves becoming costlier, with that duty of 50% having to be paid to the US Border Customs and Border Protection Force. As a result, there could be, at a higher price, a fall in the demand for the Indian exports.
This would put Indian exporters at a disadvantage, as US buyers would likely choose exporters from other countries with lesser tariffs.
President has put tremendous public pressure to bring this war to a close. He's taken actions, as you've seen, sanctions on India and other actions as well.
Russian oil trade has become the biggest point of contention between India and the United States. In fact, Trump administration has been singling out India to the extent of dragging down the spirit of overall bilateral relations between the two nations.
There were certain things that the Indian government did that generally rubbed the United States the wrong way. For instance, you generally buy your military gear from Russia. That's a way to kind of get up, under the skin of America if you go to buy your armaments from Russia. So I think India is starting to move towards buying the military equipment from the United States, which then goes a long way. And these kind of things, just creating that relationship, being a part of BRICS, right? Which is, let's move to not support the dollar and dollar hegemony. That's not really the way to make friends and influence people in America.
Not that India has blinked.
We are not the biggest purchasers of Russian oil. That is China. We are not the biggest purchasers of Russian LNG. I'm not sure, but I think that is the European Union. We are not the country which has the biggest trade surge with Russia after 2022. I think there are some countries to the south. We are a country where actually the Americans said for the last few years that we should do everything to stabilize the world energy markets, including buying oil from Russia. Incidentally, we also buy oil from America, and that amount has been increasing. So, quite honestly, we are very perplexed at the logic of the argument that you had referred to.
We are calling out the hypocrisy and we are not giving in.
Funny is you have people who work for a pro-business American administration accusing other people of doing business. Okay, that's really curious. But here's the point. If you have a problem buying oil from India, oil or refined products, don't buy it. Nobody forced you to buy it.
This comment of Dr. S. Jaishankar came a day after Trump's tariff czar Peter Navarro went hammer and tongs against India.
India doesn't appear to want to recognize its role in the bloodshed. It simply doesn't. It's cozying up to Xi Jinping. Is what it's doing. It's not act. And by the way, I wrote that article in the FT just to deal with the propaganda of the Indian government to make people want to feel sorry for them. Oh, they need the oil. They don't need the oil. It's a refining profiteering scheme. It's a laundromat for the Kremlin. That's the reality.
But India is not keeping a low profile vis-a-vis its relationship with Russia, despite the very open bullying attempts from Washington. After National Security Advisor Ajit Doval External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar visited Russia. Russian President Vladimir Putin also is set to visit India later this year. Russia, a steadfast partner of India for decades, is ready to back India and going as far as to offer 5% additional respite in oil purchases.
According to reports, President Trump decided not to impose extra tariffs of India, but in case there are some extra barriers and attempts to disrupt the relations by using this tool of unlawful competition, as we call sanctions, and unjustified tariffs as well. So it will not have a serious impact on the partnership between the two countries, because our relations are natural. Our economies are mutually supplementary. So, and that's why it would be absolutely clear that we will just find some ways to overcome these difficulties and take our relations forward.
China too is trying to find an ally in India in the fight against the larger US tariffs.
The United States has imposed tariffs of up to 50% on India and even threatened for more. China firmly opposes it. In the face of such acts, silence or compromise only emboldens the bully. China will firmly stand with India to uphold the multilateral trading system with the World Trade Organization at its core.
Indian exports to the United States is under 20% of its overall exports.
As of now, the chances are that these tariffs will continue, because on both the counts, India is staying firm. On matters of trade, we are saying we have clear red lines, that is the farming sector, broadly speaking, for which the 25 could very well continue, those % tariffs. There is a bill in the US Senate which talked of even 100% or 500% tariffs. The American administration can bring that out also. So, as of now, the 25 plus 25, that is 50, to me seems will stay.
If China example is to go by, Trump is known to go back and forth. He started with 10% tariffs on China, went up to all the way till 245%, but in February and July, only to finally settle at 30%. If Trump does not backtrack, as he usually does, a loss of a few $1 billion is expected, but India is already preparing to brace the impact.
भारत अपने किसानों के, पशुपालकों के और मछुआरे भाई बहनों के हितों के साथ कभी भी समझौता नहीं करेगा। और मैं जानता हूं, व्यक्तिगत रूप से मुझे बहुत बड़ी कीमत चुकानी पड़ेगी, लेकिन मैं इसके लिए तैयार हूं। मेरे देश के किसानों के लिए, मेरे देश के मछुआरों के लिए, मेरे देश के पशुपालकों के लिए आज भारत तैयार है।
As a matter of fact, only 22% of India's GDP is export dependent. Global agencies like S&P have been bullish on India's growth despite the given geopolitical developments.
The Indian exports largely today to the US are pharmaceuticals, more vaccines, gems and jewelry, textiles, and automobile and other engineering goods. We could see at 50% tariff some of these products becoming uncompetitive in the US market itself. That would impact the volume of trade, volume of exports which India gets from or is able to make to the United States.
If anything, Trump's tariff war is only strengthening India's resolve.
हमें मिलकर भारत को दुनिया की तीसरी सबसे बड़ी इकोनॉमी बनाना है। हमें मिलकर मेक इन इंडिया और आत्मनिर्भर भारत की सक्सेस स्टोरी लिखनी है।
right, bring it on, ladies and gentlemen. Moving on. After 78 years of independence, Mizoram in our northeast will be connected to the national rail network. It is a matter of pride for all of us how a 52-kilometer long Bairabi-Sairang railway project will connect Aizawl to 1 billion Indian huts. A project that took over a decade of engineering prowess and political will has now culminated into an infrastructural marvel. With a bridge taller than the Qutub Minar to tunnels cutting across the Mizoram hills, this project represents the strong and resilient India moving forward uninterrupted and making its way despite all obstacles. This project will further India's march eastwards, cement our strategic and economic objects. Looking forward to it.
After 78 years of independence, a long connectivity due is finally over. A distance of 494 kilometers, covered with a 51.38 kilometer long Bairabi-Sairang railway project. The project encompassing 48 tunnels, 55 major bridges and 87 minor bridges has now connected Aizawl with 1 billion hearts of India. Mizoram, a northeastern state of India known for its Chiro bamboo dance and lush green hills, is now set to embark on its first rail journey. The 51.38 kilometer long railway project connects Bairabi in North Mizoram to Sairang in South Mizoram, encompassing over 3 stations in the middle, including Hatoki, Kaunpui and Moalkhang. It is to be noted that Aizawl is only 20 kilometers from Sairang. Republic, while speaking to Railways' Chief Public Relations Officer Kapinjan K. Sharma, asked the relevance of this project for the people of Mizoram.
It has been more than 75 years since India's independence, but for the people of Mizoram, railway connectivity had remained a dream. But now, finally, that dream has been fulfilled and the people of Mizoram are very excited. And also, tourists from different parts of the country can now easily come to Aizawl, the capital of Mizoram, and they can enjoy the natural beauty of this place as well as the culture, the customs of this unique hill state in the northeast. So my message would be for all the people to come to Mizoram comfortably, safely and in a cost-effective manner. They can come and visit Aizawl, the capital of Mizoram, and they can enjoy the natural beauty of this beautiful place.
The Chief Engineering Officer on this project highlighted the importance of rail connectivity and the difficulties faced during the execution of this project. This is what he had to say.
ब्रिज नंबर 196 बैरबी-सारंग प्रोजेक्ट का एक आइकॉनिक ब्रिज है। ये इस प्रोजेक्ट का सबसे ऊंचा ब्रिज और नॉर्थ ईस्ट का सेकंड हाईएस्ट ब्रिज है। इस ब्रिज की टोटल हाइट 114 मीटर है, जो कि कुतुब मीनार से 41 मीटर ज़्यादा ऊंचा है। इस प्रोजेक्ट की टोपोग्राफी इस तरीके की है कि इसमें 3 अलग अलग टाइप के स्पान यूज किए गए हैं। इसमें 2 स्पान 31.9 के कंप्लीट गर्डर, 2 47.24 के ओपन वेब गर्डर्स और 2 103.5 मीटर के ओपन वेब गर्डर्स हैं। टोटल इस ब्रिज की लंबाई 378 मीटर बनती है। टोपोग्राफी को देखते हुए इस ब्रिज की जो स्लोप्स हैं उसको ऊपर काम करना हमारे लिए एक काफ़ी चैलेंजिंग रहा था, क्योंकि जो स्लोप एडजेसेंट स्लोप्स हैं तकरीबन 70 डिग्री की स्लोप पे बनी स्लोप है इसकी, और इन 70 डिग्री की स्लोप के ऊपर अलग अलग जगह पर पहुंचना, कटिंग करके वहां पर फाउंडेशन के लिए स्पेस क्रिएट करना, वहां पर मशीनरी पहुंचाना और फिर वहां पर काम करना, ये हमारे लिए काफ़ी चैलेंजिंग रहा था।
Republic, in its exclusive reporting from Mizoram, spoke with the people to ask them about their excitement with respect to the railway connectivity they are about to get. This is what they had to say.
The arrival of the railway in Aizawl is a monumental step for Mizoram. It promises to significantly boost economic growth by improving connectivity, trade and tourism.
For 79 years after India's independence,
The rugged terrain of Mizoram presented formidable changes to railway expansion. The dream of connecting the state to the national network seemed distant, with the nearest railhead far from its capital. However, a dream into reality, the first train is now plugged into Aizawl, Sairam, making a historic moment for the state.
मिजोरम वासी हम लोग बहुत खुश हैं। प्रधानमंत्री जी 12 सितंबर को आ रहे हैं और 13 तारीख को मिजोरम में आइजोल शहर में ट्रेन आ रहे हैं। हम लोग बहुत खुशी हैं। प्रधानमंत्री जी और सबको हम मुबारक देना चाहते हैं। ये एक हिस्टोरिक मूवमेंट है मिजोरम के लिए। कम्युनिकेशन के लिए बहुत अच्छे हैं। यहाँ का रोड पहाड़ी इलाका होने के कारण काफ़ी ख़राब होता है और रेल आने से हम लोग को बहुत सुविधा होने की आशा है। जय हिंद।
Union Railways Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw had also posted a video on his social media platform about the project where he stated, quote, connecting Mizoram's capital Aizawl to every heart of India. Reports suggest that the Prime Minister is also scheduled to visit Mizoram to inaugurate the Bairabi-Sairang railway line on September 13th. Just 3 months back in Manipur, the Noni Bridge, an integral part of the 111 kilometers long Jiribam-Imphal railway line project, had accounted completion of the grinder launch. And now the Bairabi-Sairang railway project has given the much needed connectivity push to the northeast. The government has also completed the linking of Imphal, Aizawl and Kohima to the national rail network. In a decade, the government has increased the number of airports from 9 to 17 in the northeast, furthering Prime Minister's vision of Ashtalakshmi, 8 northeastern states as engines of growth. The relevance of these projects is also enhanced as India shares a 1,140 kilometer long border with China, 1,643 kilometer long border with Myanmar, and 1,880 kilometer long border with Bangladesh on the northeast frontier. While financial needs are very important, strategic and security concerns are also at play here. As Indian Railways reached Mizoram, Republic hails the infrastructure push for further connection of the northeast.
All right, from Prime Minister Modi in China to Trump's tariffs to India's naval might. All this is happening coming week. Look forward to it. Thanks for watching. Short break. Live and breaking is on the other side.
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
QS&THE, the world's foremost university rankings organizations, have ranked Amity amongst the top 3% universities globally, making it among the very few Indian universities to be included in both rankings. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा।